Hello. If you are here, then I take it that you have watched my series on why light novels are bad, how the recruitment system is rigged, how it damages the anime industry, and why certain tropes are so overused. I want to change the light novel industry, and from there, help the anime industry. Not just to prevent it from dying, not just so the hardworking animators can get their dues, but also to help the industry grow and prosper. So now, I promise to tell you my side of the story. Why don't we dive right in? In 2016, I went to Japan with manuscripts of 2 stories totaling 10 volumes worth, 6 for one and 4 for the other. At that point, I knew both the light novel contest system and web novel exist. I didn't know they were the primary methods of choosing a writer. I thought you could just arrange a meeting and pitch to the editors what you have to offer, what ideas you have, how much you can write in a month, etc. After all, that just seems like a far more reliable and efficient method of selecting an employee. All you need to take is half an hour. The company doesn't have to pay you prize money if they do agree to take you in. And they also should be able to rest easy knowing that you just won't bail out on them, be it right away after getting the prize money or after a year or so, because again, neither the contest nor the web novels prepared you for the real career. Which is why I tried contacting every publisher to try and set up a meeting. Some of them by phone, some of them by mail, some of them both, but all of them turned me down and pointed me at the contest. Almost all of the companies say they welcome foreigners because they can bring ideas and worldview unique from the usual Japanese ones. But notably, 2 companies on the phone backed down and declined me from even applying to their contest. When I asked them whether or not I could get a visa if I do enter the contest and won, they just flat out say, no, we ain't doing that, no matter what ideas you have. This is because as a foreigner, I will be needing a visa if I am to stay and work in Japan. And since like no others are freelancers not attached to a company full time to begin with, it made this entire issue all the more of a hazy gray zone. Anyway, one of them on mail, most likely answered by a different person from the person I spoke with on the phone, instead gave me a maybe on the visa. So here it is. I want you to take note of it. This type of inconsistent, contradicting messaging by the light novel companies. You're going to be seeing it a lot. I'll be putting up a counter here. But also because of that, I can't give any company names because I could get in trouble for it. And there's also a chance that their policies may have already changed again, so by the time this video goes up, it might not be accurate anymore. Among those companies, there are 2 that outright declined me from their contest, even before I asked about the visas, saying they just don't want to deal with foreigners, period. Yet notably, when I check out the contest recruitment page on their website, one outright say that they do accept foreigners, while others say that they accept applications from overseas but didn't specify if that means foreigners or just Japanese people who live abroad. So there, second contradiction. And so there it is. I have no choice but to go in the contest. And even back then, I already understood how flawed this system is. Especially since I know the 2 series I have on hand would certainly not pass, since they don't have a resolution in Volume 1. I wrote them to be series. They do solve the minor conflict introduced within the volume, but leave a larger conflict looming away in the distance because, again, as a series, that should be a given. Deku didn't become the number 1 hero in the first volume, and neither did Harry Potter kill Voldemort in his first outing. But hey, I know that's not gonna roll by the contest either way, so instead, I had to draft something else from scratch in 1 month. And so I did. About a group of friends who became spies in different organizations around the world to fight a global conspiracy. It wasn't hard because I kinda had an outline of the plot ready on the back burner before, just never started writing it until then. The story has 3 different POVs to show the 3 protagonists working with different perspectives and resources against a common goal. Multiple POVs are kinda my signature because I generally don't believe in a world revolving around a single person. If you're interested in hearing about this story, wait 2 weeks after the video's pitching metafiction goes up. Anyway, this story has a more solid beginning, middle, and end, or more accurately, the Kishotenketsu, which is just the Japanese style of a 4-act structure, but even then it wasn't 100% conclusive. I mean, these are just high school students who just learned of the conspiracy's existence and only got 2 months into their spy career. A global conspiracy isn't gonna be so dumb as to go down so easily within 150 pages. I mean, even James Bond took dozens of books and movies to fight Spectre. The story still doesn't wrap up, but it does include the POVs working together to take out the major boss. So I thought that would have been enough. Because in place of a conclusion, this book served more as a clear show of my personal gimmicks. The way I built characters, the efforts I put into research, and how I married real-world organization and its politics with anime aesthetic and style. It isn't meant to be a be-all and all, but more of a pitch of my potentials. I submitted it to one contest and the result returned 4 months later. It was full of praises exactly of what I wanted to show. The deep world building, deep characters, the detailed research, and the uniqueness of multiple POVs. It was otherwise full of A's and B's. They even liked that the politics of the story touched on some current events. But it was a fail. It was rejected in the second round. It was because the judge mistook the conspiracy not going down in one book as meaning I don't know how to end a story. Yeah, I knew they wouldn't like a story that doesn't conclude in a single book, but I didn't know they would hate it this much. It was disappointing, but hey, it's not like I didn't see this coming, and I guess I didn't communicate clearly enough that it was meant to be a series. So in the following months, I wrote 4 more stories and submitted it to the next company. This time, one that explicitly said in its recruitment form that they welcome series. And to double down, these contests usually has a box in the submission form for you to write the summary of the story in. So I write down right there that this is clearly meant to be a series, not something that ends in one book. And again, all 5 stories got shining reviews. They all passed to the second, and 2 even got to the 3rd round. Though ultimately, they still all got rejected. And what do you know? The reason 2 of them got rejected was because they think I can't end the story. And here comes the contradiction again, despite the site saying that they welcome series. And this was despite me already trying to tell them that it's a goddamn series. But hey, that's not even the stupidest one. One judge turned my story down for being a mecha. They didn't specify why being a mecha is bad. The recruitment form said nothing about mechas. Hell, it even says sci-fi are allowed. But this judge just rejected me for having a mecha anyway. So since this isn't quite a contradiction, let's add in another counter for stupid judging. Another one is self-contradictory. It praises the story for having a high-functioning psychopath protagonist that he's quite unique, and thanks to that, he could give you a really thrilling story. Yet it also rejected the story exactly for that same reason. That the thing a psychopath protagonist is not relatable. It said I should make the protagonist not a psychopath, despite acknowledging that the whole goddamn story works because he is a psychopath. So there, another contradiction and stupid judging. Because of this, I sent an email to the company asking about this judge. Most particularly about the disqualification just because my story is a mecha, because that's one of the least excusable. But the mail that returned to me just say that they stand by the judge's decision no matter what. It's as if the person answering the mail didn't even read what my complaint was. I sent a reply email to press them on the issue, but they just went ghost and never responded ever again. So I have no choice but to move on. But because the result of this second contest came back late, the only contest I can apply to again without having to wait 6 more months is the contest of the first company I submitted to. Well, damn. I know sending the stories to this place would just get me rejected for not knowing how to wrap up, but hey, if I sent in and got rejected in 4 months, that would just be in time to get to the next contest season, so why the hell not? What do I have to lose? So I submitted it, and predictably, they all got rejected in either the first or second round. Same reasons being them thinking I'm too much of an idiot to wrap up a story. But notably, there is one story that got a shining praises for its world building, but got rejected because the judge said there's too much details that he couldn't keep up. So there goes another contradiction and stupid judging. On a similar note, another got rejected because the characters used code names. So the judges messed the characters up and can't even remember who did what. This is despite the characters using code names to call each other 95% of the time, so you don't even have to remember their real names. Then the hands down most stupid one is the first spy story, which somehow got rejected in the first round, and despite having shining reviews in the first time around, this time it was relentlessly bashed. Everything from the judge not liking the multiple POVs to the fact that there wasn't a Japanese spy organization in the story. Yet the first main antagonist of the book is a Japanese man, which the judge took as meaning I am anti-Japanese. Seriously. Note that in current reality, there is no such thing as an active Japanese spy organization. And I submitted the exact same stories to the exact same place with such drastically different results. So again, contradiction and stupid judge. It is why I feel the contest system is like a roulette wheel. It matters less about your personal skills and more to whether or not your stories fall to the hands of a judge who give a shit. But yeah, whatever, I expected to fail when I submitted to the place anyway, so time to move on to the next company. This time with 11th story in Tao. So this time, outside of saying anything in the summary, I also put in that I'm summoning in 11 stories at once, so I would like them to put into consideration that this means I can write multiple unique stories in a limited amount of time. That I am an investment that can easily last them a decade. That I don't care if they reject my stories from the contest, but if they see potential in the story, I'd like them to tip the editor for me to get to my job interview. So it goes without saying, all of them made through to different levels, but ultimately all failed again. Most with praises all around, some with understandable flaws that led to disqualification, and most without. There were still the usual. The ones that doesn't want to remember names, the one that completely missed the point of the story, even though I spelled it out to them. But let's look at the particularly stupid ones. One of them said they failed me the moment they saw me trying to negotiate for an interview. That they didn't even read my story. So yeah, that goes to stupid judging. Then, as I submitted 2 stories with psychopathic protagonists this time, 2 judges predictably contradict each other. One saying they like the psychopathic character and he wished there'd be more chances to showcase his psychopathy. While they also say the psychopath protagonist ruined the entire story, and he even argues that a psychopath being able to have rational thought is unscientific. Which I don't even know where he got that info from. So that's a point going into both contradiction and stupidity. Another said they don't like how I name my characters. Yeah, they don't like my naming scheme. It's a story about personified natural disasters bringing forth the apocalypse. Like a kaiju story that's more human in both size and characters. The judge praised this premise and the characters themselves, but disqualify me just because they didn't like how the characters were named straightly as Earthquake, Hurricane, Flood, and such. You'd think in this era of there being a dozen games of personified whatever, as well as already successful examples in Maoyu and Goblin Slayers where the characters are just named after their job class. This naming scheme should have been fine with everyone by now, but apparently not, so that's going into stupidity. And then there are also some judges who were outright offensive. One disqualified me as soon as they saw that the name on the application isn't a Japanese one. Say that they don't accept non-Japanese people. This is despite 10 other judges of this same company having absolutely no problem with that. So I'll put a tick in both contradiction and stupidity. Then yet another one disqualified my story for being based in world history. As in, focusing on history of every country equally. It was meant to be educational. But they just straight up say that the audiences don't care about other countries' history, so just having this premise alone is worthy of disqualification. So yeah, that goes into another stupid. So after this, after 3 companies and 11 stories, maybe you could say it might just be because my stories sucked. And maybe they do. It's not like I didn't scrap 4 stories before they were completed and had since scrapped 2 completed stories, also because I think they're not up to my standards. So yeah, out of total 15, I scrapped 6. So it's not like I don't acknowledge that I can make a lot of mistakes. I am willing to admit that maybe my language still is faulty. I made sure all my stories were written in grammatically correct Japanese and even went as far as to hire proofreaders, admittedly of varying qualities, to make sure all my writings sound natural. One of such proofreaders was a previous contest winner, who supplied me with some information of her own experiences. Even so, I acknowledge that my N1 Japanese skills, while enough to make the grammar correct, may not be enough to make the language sound flowery. But still, it's not like light novels themselves are known for having eloquent language, and most of the time I did get a passing grade on the prose section of the contest, and very few judges even commented on anything, so I didn't think it would be a big problem. I mean, after all, even if my grammars were horrible, in the end, that is something you can fix easily. Or rather, it's something that's gonna be fixed by the editor anyway. And then yeah, there are these 8 counts of contradictions and 9 counts of stupidity, and we're not even done, so don't you think I have the rights to believe the contest is bullshit? I personally value uniqueness, depth, versatility, and long-term planning, while taking pride in my own writing gimmicks and character design, and you either just flat out can't show any of these in the contest, or any attempts to show them will just end up in minus points. It is why I didn't send all of my stories to different companies. It'd just be throwing dice on completely different boards. It doesn't really help. I'd rather just have all of my stories in one place and hope that the judges would acknowledge that I can write this dozens of stories in a single year, so I have value as an investment. So again, I sent an email asking them about this whole issue, to which the person answering the mail first acted rather understandably and was sympathetic to the unfair judgment I received. So I asked them, since I did still manage to get good grades on multiple stories, can I just have them ask the editor to give a peek and arrange a job interview with me instead? To which the operator started acting somewhat hesitant, but agreed to forward these emails over to the editor for me. I ended up waiting for months, letting another contest season fly by just in case the editor does give me an interview. But even after 4 months, no reply came. So I sent them the mail again, reintroducing myself and everything in case there was a change in operator. But the mail operator, the very same one, said they remembered me, yet did not apologize for the 4 months of silence and said, if they let such a gap open, then it was supposed to be my job to read between the lines, and they're just never gonna consider me. I asked them back if the editor had read my emails or not, to which the operator said yes. But when I pressed on if that's true, then I'd like the editor to take 1 minute answering my email and decline by himself. To which the email operator just said no. So yeah, the email operator was just bullshitting me. All that show sympathy was just your usual Japanese empty pleasantries of the people pretending to be polite and kind, but doesn't actually give a shit. God, I wasted 4 months keeping my hopes up for that. Anyway, I'm just gonna put in another point for the contradiction and stupidity for that. So I moved on, going to the 5th company. This time I actually phoned every remaining companies once again, asking them directly that if I applied multiple entries to the contest, can all of my entries go to 1 or 2 judges? Or if they can't do that, then promise me that all the judges who receive my work will be aware that I am submitting 11 stories at once. Is it unfair treatment? I don't think so. After all, I am still going through their judge. All I'm asking is to somewhat have a consistent opinion that won't contradict each other. Or at the very least, have the judges acknowledge what I am trying to offer the company. What qualities actually point me as a long-term writer that can benefit the company. But of course, most company phone or mail operator, the moment they spotted the slightest hint of resistance, opted to just decline and say, no, they don't want me in their contest. These people tell me they personally aren't in the position to do anything. To which I told them, yeah, I know. That's why I wanted to talk to the editor. To someone who can actually do something. All I'm asking is for them to hand their phone or mail over to the editor and let me carry over from there myself. But none of them would let me. So I'm going to put that take in stupidity because it's just showing that these people prioritize not wanting to piss off their superiors of than to take a chance that could improve the company. Note that I want to talk to the editors, not the president of the companies, so it's not like even if the phone people piss the editors off, they even have the authority to fire them or anything. So it's even more showing how spineless these people are. Only one guy in one company actually could promise me that if I submit to their company, the judges will be informed that I did multiple entries. He couldn't promise that all my entries will go to one person. He can't hand the phone over to the editor, but at least he was agreeing to all my arguments to the flaws of the contest system, and I guess that was just the water in the desert I needed. But guess what? When I entered and the results came back, it was the same. None of the judges were aware that I made multiple entries. Many of the judges were the same as always. The ones who were too lazy to remember any names, the ones who missed my point despite being spelled out too. So there goes. Another company, same problems. One more point to the contradiction. The one stupid comment this time was a judge who said he doesn't like me using a non-isekai steampunk version of ancient China, that it was overused. I mean, seriously, a light novel judge complaining that the setting was overused? The more ironic part is that guess what the top 3 winners of that contest were? Right, medieval European fantasy isekai. Since that was a big WTF moment, I tried phoning to the company again, but this time a different guy picked up and I wasn't able to find the guy who promised me last time. Maybe I should have asked for his name. This new guy was far less understanding and far more aggressive. He didn't listen anything out, and so it was pointless to even ask. So yeah, after this, I think I've been burned one time too many. I just swore out the contest now. I mean, if the remaining companies can't even promise me that they have the minimum decency to even acknowledge me in putting in multiple entries, then I just don't want to play with this casino anymore. But that doesn't mean I gave up. I'm just taking other routes now. For one, I've found a self-publishing company who could help me. I've asked the company if I could mention them by name in this video, but they said until I sign a contract, I shouldn't mention their name just yet. But point is, at the price of 2.9 million yen, the company would supply me with an editor who will help me through the process. And this cost will also cover the distribution and marketing of the books. I don't know how widespread it's going to be, but at the very least, it's going to help my books out there. I am currently making my way to gather that 2.9 million to publish metafiction, but I would also like your help through Patreon to get me up so I can publish another book as well. That one currently is still undecided, so I'll be picking from the most popular one in the pitching videos. But in the end, the self-publishing company also cannot give me visa. So the ultimate goal still is to catch the attention of the other companies that would be willing to take me in as a full-time employee who can actually receive visa. If that could be achieved, then I will also work however I can to establish a foundation for other foreign writers to be able to come in and work in Japan, to bring more new ideas that will help revitalize the anime industry. The future of the anime industry is on a global stage. As the explosion of VTuber popularity on the global stage this year has attested, there's a high demand in willing overseas demographics who wants to engage more in the anime industry. And I mean, the writing has been on the wall for a while. Many anime companies have since taken to get their fundings from Netflix, have adapted foreign stories, have pushed for a simulcast or high-quality official titles for simultaneous release. Many games and mangas also have taken to more Western targeted ideas and work for faster and better translations. The overseas anime fandom is treasure trove that people are finding massive success in. Yet the light novel, which is by Nihonjin for Nihonjin mentality and insatisfaction to stick with middling income because they'd rather not take the risk, is poisoning the anime industry, which has no choice but to adapt these stories but with a much bigger financial risk they have to take with each and every product. Which is why it is important that we fix this. And I don't intend to, or rather, can't do this alone. To change this, we need to change the trend, and for that, I need your help. If you got this channel to grow, if you have more support on the change.org page, and if my self-published books are successful, then it's definitely going to turn some companies' heads. And I am not saying the companies should just give me everything for free. I am not saying they should just take me in, no question asked. Because what I want is exactly for them to take me in after they ask me all the questions in the world. The phone operators and the judges have no stake in the actual sales of light novels. The quality of the products they're printing and how well they sell aren't going to affect their salaries. That's why, of course, none of them is going to take even the smallest risk to help someone they don't know. But the editor is different. They're the ones actually touching the books, and whose livelihoods are actually tied to how successful the books are. They are the one who actually sees the book trends. Of course, this doesn't mean all editors are the same. I know many of them still wouldn't give a damn about talking to some randos. Some might even prefer the state light novel industry is in because they're the one with stable income. No matter what reputation they have, and no matter what effects they are having on the anime industry. Or maybe they're just generally aversive to changes in the status quo, as Japanese people tends to be. But I'm sure that there are some who must be willing to open up, who actually also want change. Someone who is actually sick of the current trend, and someone who actually wants to see the potential for better. That's why I want to be able to reach out to such people, and it is better to do that by us showing that exact potential to them, rather than having to go through the people who otherwise just don't care. I want them to ask me exactly how many books I have, what those books are, how quickly I can write them, whether or not I can do my own character design, how much support on the language I will need, and what I intend to do with the money from the sales. Everything to help the company understand not only how useful I will be to them, but what my personal goals are, to actually form a better work relationship than what they usually have with their writers. I mean, why wouldn't a normal job interview be better? It's faster, cheaper, and far more effective for both parties. Isn't the point of recruiting artists and writers is to find out what they can do that the others can't? So what's with the goddamn point of the contest if all you're gonna get are the same old isekai writing authors who can't even continue their jobs for long? The current recruiting system simply is obsessed with keeping the rules without understanding why the rules was even there in the first place. Which, you know, is just a very Japanese thing. I work from 8:30 AM to 2 AM literally every day to write these novels, not taking breaks even on weekends, and I still have far more ideas that I can write down, while the professionals spend 4 months each to crank out the single books that's basically copy-pasted from someone else. So excuse me if I am delusional for presuming that I am far more qualified for this career, and it's the system's fault for being inflexible just because. I am not doing this for money, and when I do got all my books off the ground, I intend to donate 50% of every book sale to whatever cause, be it to support the animators or environmental organization, depending on the stories and the theme. I am doing this for the sake of bringing change, because no one else is trying to fix this broken system. That's why I'm going to need your help however you want to give. I know there is this quote from Giguk that anime is trash and so am I, and I know it's a joke, but again, it is this embrace of the anime's worst part that is killing the industry itself. To many of you, perhaps the notion of going into an industry on a foreign land to change its working is something far beyond reach. But if you learn any lessons from animes in general, then you should know that bringing change isn't easy. But still, just because it's hard, it shouldn't stop you from using that change to save what you love. The People writing and, well, ruining animes are humans as you and I. Them being Japanese may indeed get them advantage in the language and working in Japan, but as you can already see, it doesn't inherently mean they also have better ideas. Which is why I am saying if the Japanese people are the ones who doesn't want to save the industry, then someone else has to. But I also won't be like the colleges and lie that any one of you can do the job. As I said, it will not be easy. Not everyone can do it. This isn't multi-level marketing. You at least need to have some proficiency, I'd say, at the very least N2 in Japanese. Have creativity and critical thinking skills to, if not come up with something unique, then at least want to present an idea as fresh. And then you also need passion for anime enough to upkeep both your stamina and creativity for years to come. I will be uploading premise factory videos to serve as jumping platforms if you don't have an idea to start off on your own. I am willing to give full credits to you for that writing and can give supporting ideas, but in the end, it should be best if you could turn it into something that is truly yours. And then there is the pandemic. It could serve to slow some process down, so I hope you understand that point. But despite the pandemic, in this age, working from home being possible also means you can also work with someone else across the globe from your home. So even if it doesn't mean you can get a work visa in Japan just yet, since you won't be able to fly there either way, you can still very much start building your career from home. Or if you don't want to become a writer, then there are also several other places you can help out with. If you are an artist, then our novels are also going to need illustrations. So your aid to bring our stories to pictures would also be much appreciated. Or you could even pair up with some writers and make the story into a manga. It isn't like manga also aren't an equally bad source of anime adaptations, and it would also help to sway the trend as well. Not only are there certainly authors who will prefer having their stories turned into mangas than light novels, there are also some stories that will inherently work better in visual form. I even have some of my own. So feel free to contact us and let us build a career together. Or ultimately, you can just help by spreading the word. Share this video with someone else who might be interested. Help share the videos of my ideas to more people so that we can get the editor's attention faster. And therefore, even if you don't want to directly work with us or donate, I am still very grateful for your efforts to help spread the word. So that will be all. If you are interested in anything listed, you can contact me through our Discord server in the description. And also please check out the change.org and Patreon page in the description and give help however you feel like it. Next week I will be uploading my video on metafiction, the first pitching video of the stories I am writing. Please subscribe to check it out if you are interested or are still on the fence to whether I am actually good enough to be worth your support. The week after, I will be uploading the premise factory video where I will be giving idea premise for the story I believe you can take to build upon into something spectacular. The ideas are for free, as I will be needing your help to change the trend in the industry. Thank you for watching and see you next time.